Good evening, I'm Roland Martin. Thank you for joining us for this special edition, NewsOne Now Primetime, Prince Remembered. Folks, for the next 2 hours, we will remember the musical genius of the artist known as Prince. We'll hear from those close to the singer and talk about his massive impact on the music industry throughout his legendary career. So many people were stunned to find out the news shortly after 1 o'clock that Prince had died. As the word spread across social media, a lot of people simply assumed that it was a hoax. We often see these, but as the confirmations begin to come in, and then we begin to hear from the publicist that Prince had indeed died, shock, sorrow, you name it, was expressed all across this country and this world. To lose Prince at the age of 57, somebody who was so full of life, somebody who performed all of the time, somebody who performed in day and night. It was stunning, especially considering he performed just last week in Atlanta. Of course, he was born Prince Rogers Nelson on June 5th, 1958 in Minneapolis, Minnesota. That, of course, was where he also died. Official word of his death came from his publicist earlier today with this quote: "It is with profound sadness that I am confirming that the legendary, iconic performer Prince Rogers Nelson has died at his Paisley Park residence this morning at the age of 57. According to the publicist, his body was found inside of an elevator at his Paisley Park estate in Minneapolis. At this hour, there's no word on the cause of death. Police there do have a death investigation. There's no word if an autopsy is going to be performed as well. What we do know is that for the last week, Prince has been ill. He fell ill last week in Atlanta after performing there. TMZ reported that as he was traveling across the country, his plane made an emergency landing in Illinois. And then he went to the hospital there and then returned back to his home. In fact, when that took place, I reached out to someone who was extremely close to Prince. And I sent this person, I don't want to say exactly who it was, and I'm not going to pull it up on the screen. But what happened was I sent this person a text message, and this was the text message last Friday. It took place at 11:30 that night. It said, "Yes, he is good." And I said, "Great." The quote was, TMZ reported he was in a hospital and not doing well while he was sitting in his house. They have since changed. And they said, and so that's what took place. But today, when I hit that same person around 1 o'clock at 1:14 p.m., the text message came back, "Cannot talk, but it is true. Prince is dead." Of course, the reports were that he had the flu. TMZ is also reporting that hours before his death, he was seen going to a drugstore there in Minneapolis. What people are thinking about right now is about the songwriter, the singer, the arranger, the guy who played all the instruments on all of his albums, how he was such an iconic figure, somebody who there was no comparison. You talk about the impact of James Brown, Little Richard, Sammy Davis Jr., Jimi Hendrix, all of that. Prince was really a modern-day manifestation of those entertainers. In fact, he had this constant battle, if you will, who was a top artist in the country, in the world, between him and Michael Jackson. He was a musical genius at the age of 18, signing a contract with Warner Brothers Records. He became the youngest producer associated with the label. Of course, one of Prince's first hits from the 1970s disco era was called "I Want to Be Your Lover." He soared to success in the 1980s with his albums 1999 and Purple Rain, which was followed by the film with the same title, and that's when he exploded across the world. He had a fan base like no other. People of all ages, races, and occupations loved his music, and not only that, the individuals who were in music also loved his music. One of those fans, none other than President Barack Obama, who issued this statement saying, quote, "Today the world lost a creative icon. Michelle and I join millions of fans from around the world in mourning the sudden death of Prince. Few artists have influenced the sound and trajectory of popular music more distinctly or touched quite so many people with their talent as one of the most gifted and prolific musicians of our time. Prince did it all. Funk, R&B, rock and roll. He was a virtuoso instrumentalist, a brilliant band leader, and an electrifying performer. A strong spirit transcends rules. Prince once said, and nobody's spirit was stronger, bolder, or more creative. Our thoughts and prayers are with his family, his band, and all who loved him. That was a statement from President Barack Obama. Don't forget, with Prince actually performed at the White House last year for a private party that was paid for by President Barack Obama as well as Michelle Obama. And so when you talk about, again, that particular impact, you're talking about somebody who was truly amazing. In just a few moments, we're going to be talking with a variety of individuals, including Aretha Franklin and many others as well. And so we were supposed to have her on the phone. We're working on that right now. But earlier today, though, I was on the phone and I talked with, of course, the great artist Verdine White. Also talked to Anthony Hamilton as well. And Anthony Hamilton, of course, once opened for Prince. And here's some of our conversation.
Me, my friend Brandy, who's a publicist in North Carolina, texted me this morning, said that TMZ had reported that Prince had passed away. And I was like, it couldn't be true. Clearly that can't be true because I hadn't heard anything about it. And when I confirmed it, it just made me, I don't know, I became numb and I became very quiet, and I was a loss of words for a long time. And I sat there and I was just praying to God. I was like, God, this can't, I mean, you make no mistakes, but him as a person, as a musician, man, I had a chance to go to Prince's house several times. I'm sure I've seen you there plenty of times, and to jam with him, man. And I've opened up a tour date with him, and just being in his space, he was such an amazing being, man. He had an aura, he had a presence about him that that you just was drawn to, and his music alone was just, man, you can't even imagine someone else coming behind him to create anything close to it.
You talked about opening for him. I mean, what was that experience like? I mean, any artist would die to be able to perform on stage with Prince, to be in a session with him, but to also to be in the same building with him.
It was such an amazing honor. It was actually in my hometown, Charlotte, North Carolina, and it was a packed house. And everybody I've known all my life were there, and to be on this bill with him, man, to open up and have that kind of energy propelling me for the night, it was unmatchable.
How did he influence you? How did he influence your style and what you do?
He allowed me to see that you don't have to stay in anybody's box or gate. You can blur the line whenever you feel like it, and become extremely unique in yourself. And it'll sell because people are, once, they're going to pay attention because you're not in their box, and two, they're going to pay more attention to it because it's going to stand out, and you become your own unique brand. And he was about branding and ownership, and having rights of your own, and being your own president, your own boss, your own owner.
First of all, let's talk about that, because I remember him at the Soul Train Awards where he had everybody stand up, and the fight that he led against Warner Brothers along with Londell McMillan in terms of the masters and things along those lines. I mean, bottom line is he was really teaching other artists when it came to, don't get focused on the show, you better focus on the business of show business.
Exactly. When I first got into the business, that my focus was the music. It was more so the music and not the business. And I became very, very heartbroken with the music business. And then people like Prince and people like James Brown, who had ownership and stood for, more than just the show. They taught me to own your stuff, man. Know your business. Have your rights. Know your rights as a musician and as a writer, producer, and don't let these people play with you, because they will take everything you've ever worked hard for and send their kids to college, and you won't see a dime. So he definitely made people pay more attention to, their rights and the ownership of the music and the power that you have as a brand and a musician. I think we give too much power to the labels, and it's all about the music, the musician, and the fan.
When you think about losing him at 57, it also comes across, and granted, it's a shock. People are just stunned. He was performing just last week. He was so conscious about his health. But this is somebody who has left a body of work that is tremendous. When you think about the private conversations you had with him, what is your lasting memory?
The last conversation I had with Prince was we were actually at the Sound. No, actually we were at a jam session at his house. His last jam session I had been to, and that was me, Maxwell, CeeLo, and all of us was there. And he was just going over the song. He was like, Anthony, I want you to sing this song, this particular one. I want you to sing this, and this would be, be great on your voice. And he was adamant about me. Like, I would go in and out party a little bit and I'd go mingle, but he'd always send somebody to come get me because it was time for me to sing. And I was like, it's so many people in here. He cannot remember that I'm in this room like this, but he always made sure that I was there on key, on time, and I was performing exactly how he envisioned it in his head. And it was incredible to be a part of that and to be in. Actually, he just got in contact with my people to be a part of this new series he was doing. What is it? Microphone, something in the microphone series that he was about to do, a concert series.
Wow.
And they had just reached out to us for me to to perform on it. And, my hat goes out to his family. My heart goes out to them, man. And my friend Shelby Johnson, who sang with Prince also.
Right.
Great. She sang with him for 6 years or so. And, my heart goes out to her as well. It's a big loss for her. We're very close. I remember us watching YouTube videos, me, Shelby, and Prince at Paisley Park, and it was the funniest thing. He was a funny man. He was funny. He had jokes. It was absolutely an honor to be a part of that.
We were in Moline, Illinois.
Folks, that was Anthony Hamilton. We're going to go to break right now. When we come back, we will talk to the Queen of Soul. We will talk to the Queen of Soul about Prince. When we come back, we'll also hear from Philip Bailey of Earth, Wind & Fire. We'll talk to reporters who interviewed Prince, who covered Prince. Also in this hour, we'll talk to Nona Gabe, once engaged to Prince. We got a packed lineup. Terry Ellis of In Vogue, Christopher Reed, Michael Bivins, Johnny Gill, Jeffrey Osborne, a host of folks who want to talk about, share their memories with the iconic Prince right here on this NewsOne Now primetime special. Prince Remembered will be back on TV One. Folks, welcome back to this TV One NewsOne Now special, Prince Remembered. Joining us on the phone right now is someone who's iconic herself, the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin. Queen, how you doing?
I'm doing okay, Roland, with the exception of hearing about Prince today. It was just so stunning. I walked out of the hotel and the doorman asked me, had I heard about Prince? And I said, heard about Prince. And he told me what had happened, and it just blew me away. It's just, what a blow to myself, to the music industry. It's a huge loss to the music industry.
You are an iconic singer, one of the greatest in the history of music. So what is it like when you have, and I was talking to Philip Bailey, I'm going to play this a little bit later, where he said even superstars wanted to go hear Prince.
Sure. And he was so generous where other artists were concerned too, Sheila E. and Vanity and Jerome and Morris Day and other artists that he showcased and brought to the forefront.
When we talk about what kind of person he was, obviously he was a quiet person. He was a shy person. He did not always want to be out there publicly. He only recently joined Instagram and Twitter as well. And you described him earlier as absolutely one of a kind.
Absolutely. He definitely was an original. There have been none before him that I can think of, and probably won't be any after him. We saw him a lot, on TV and different places, but no, he did not talk a lot that I know of, and he was somewhat an enigma to some of us, with the exception of the people who were very close to him and around him. But it made you want to know him a little better and know something more about him. But truly, still one of a kind and a prince of an artist.
Does Aretha Franklin have a favorite Prince song?
Little Red Corvette.
Little Red Corvette.
I love the Little Red Corvette. Yeah, there were other things as well.
All right, then. Well, Queen, look, I know you're busy. We appreciate you joining us. You recently celebrated your birthday. I was there at your party there in New York.
Yes, we had a good time, didn't we?
Yes, we did. And so, just so you know, we believe in giving flowers while folks are here. We greatly appreciate you.
Yes.
It's always great that you share your time with our TV1 audience. Thank you so very much for joining us to remember Prince.
Thanks so much, Roland, and thank you for having me.
You take care. Joining us right now, folks, thank you, folks. Joining us right now via FaceTime, we have Russ Parr, of course, syndicated morning show host. Many folks, they hear Russ, they see him as well. And so he's going to join us in 1 second. I'm trying to get all of this together. And do understand, folks, again, we decided about 4 hours ago to do this primetime special. And so it's been quite a busy 4 hours. Russ, how you doing?
Hey, Roland, how you doing, man?
Doing great, man. Just share your initial thoughts. The passing of the iconic Prince.
Well, obviously everybody's shocked, and everybody can tell you where they were, what they were doing whenever they heard Prince for the first time, or your favorite Prince song. I think one of the things that I remember most about him is that he revolutionized the music industry. I mean, he was the only guy that had the courage to step out and say, "You're not going to own me," to the point where, he changed his name. He wanted to control. He wanted to have control over his music rights. And so many artists over the years have lost so much money because they didn't own those rights. And Prince spearheaded that. Heck, Prince spearheaded, getting, music off the internet now, because he was one of the first ones. Everybody thought, "Oh, Prince is crazy, man. He's going to sell his music, from the internet," and that's what we're doing now. Everybody buys that record that they want, off of a variety of services. So it's kind of interesting that, he revolutionized, the music business. He made it important for artists to understand that you need to own your rights. You need to own your masters.
In fact, Russ,
he took heat for that.
In fact, Russ, a lot of people don't realize, first of all, when he broke up with Warner Brothers, he left 700 songs. But more importantly, people forget Prince had downloaded music on his website before iTunes. He was that ahead of his time.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. People don't realize, we're talking, that was a good 15 years ago, man. Or longer, when he started, doing the artist formerly known as Prince. And I think the big thing that we have to understand is not only is he leaving an incredible legacy of rich, powerful, music that, that will stand the test of time. And it obviously does that, because no matter what you do, you could be sitting in a club somewhere in Cleveland somewhere, and at midnight, Prince will just walk in and just start playing. I mean, that's one of the things that you liked about this guy, is that, he loves the element of surprise. He would do an impromptu session in seconds, and, no one believes you. Hey, man, last night, man, we were at this club, man, and Prince showed up, and there he was performing. But I just have to say, man, this guy really revolutionized the music industry. And there are so many people now that are not broke because of Prince. Because, I'm telling you, you sign away your rights, man, you didn't have that. And that's one of the things that, I hope people don't forget, that was one of the contributions that he made to the industry. Absolutely.
Well, Russ Parr, we appreciate you, man, sharing your thoughts with Prince, with our TV1 audience. Thank you so very much.
All right. Hey, thank you, Roland. Appreciate it.
Thank you, folks. Coming up next on NewsOne Now, we'll talk to many other people. We'll talk to Londell McMillan, of course, who was the attorney for Prince when it came to that Warner Brothers deal. We'll also talk to a writer for Ebony Magazine who recently interviewed Prince and can talk about it. Corey Murray with Essence Magazine, Jamie Foster Brown, Sister to Sister Magazine. We'll talk with CJ, a columnist with the Star Tribune there in Minneapolis, who had a very contentious relationship with Prince. And in fact, he did a song about her. And so we'll talk to her as well. Lots of folks we'll talk to. Philip Bailey, Earth, Wind and Fire. We'll also talk to Full Force, Kerry Gordy, a former vice president at Paisley Records. We'll talk to Nona Gay, who was once engaged to Prince. Danielle James will go live at the Apollo Theater in the next hour. Also joining us, Pete Himmelman, a young man who actually tried out for one of Prince's band, will join us. Plus, comedian Cynthia Entertainer, Sean Robinson, an entertainment reporter, and I'll tell you about how Sean invited me to a party at Prince's house. And wait till we explain that story to you. Terry Ellis in Vogue, Michael Bivins, New Edition, Johnny Gill, New Edition, Christopher Reed from Kid and Reed, Yo-Yo, Lil Jon, a drummer from Prince. Folks, it will be a packed show for the next 2 hours right here. News One Now, TV One, Primetime Special. It's been almost 12 hours since cops were called to the estate of Prince in Minneapolis, where his body was discovered. And as the news has continued to spread, many people sharing their thoughts and their memories of the great legendary singer Prince. One of the folks had an opportunity to interview him in August for Ebony Magazine. He joins us right now. Miles Marshall Lewis joins us via FaceTime. Miles, welcome to TV One.
Thanks a lot, Roland. How are you tonight?
Doing great. You're one of the few journalists who had an opportunity to spend some time with Prince. Tell us, what was that like? Where did the interview take place? And what was the discussion about?
Yeah, well, at the time we were talking about Tidal. You know, he had aligned himself with Jay-Z's streaming service Tidal because he believes so strongly in artists' rights and you know, royalty rates going to the artists and stuff like that. So, you know, I was flown in to speak with him at Paisley Park Studios in August, and it was an amazing experience. I mean, you know, I've been a Prince fan since the early 80s, really, and you know, I had never been out to Paisley Park. We had met briefly once, and he seemed to remember me. You know, he said I had a familiar face, and he gave me a hug, and you know, by the end of the interview, speaking for like 2 or 3 hours, we ended up in his Cadillac sports car, and he was like playing me music that was unrelated to the interview. You know, it was an album that he had finished that was gonna come out, you know, like far in advance. He's always recording, so it was just an amazing time.
But there was a moment there, of course, you did the interview, and Prince had a policy when it came to his interviews where he didn't allow to be recorded. So how did you take notes? Did you take notes? Did he allow that? Describe that process, because he was extremely particular about interviews.
That's very true. Yeah, I mean, for decades now, you are not allowed to interview Prince with a tape recorder. So, you know, I guess he's used to the process of reporters sort of running off to the bathroom and, you know, taking vigorous notes and coming back and you know, just remembering as much as they can. You know, my memory is pretty photographic, but not to that extent. So, you know, I did as much, you know, note taking as I could, but not in his presence. He doesn't even allow that. So, you know, I got down as much as I could, and really, you know, I remembered the gist of it. I mean, I don't know, you know, I took some broad strokes here and there, but, you know, there were conditions that I was willing to go through, you know, in order to speak to him.
When you posted the interview on ebonymag.com, it was up for a bit, then all of a sudden it disappeared. What happened? What happened?
Yeah, I mean, you know, he's very protective of his image and of how his words get out there to the world. So he read it, and I guess maybe I remembered a little bit too much, or maybe he came off a little too frank in the interview for his taste, for his liking. But yeah, he read it, and his people contacted the magazine and asked us to take it down. Basically, he said that he thought the conversation was off the record, which, you know, was not the complete truth, because during that interview, he told me certain things off the interview, or off the record, I should say, and then continued with the regular interview. So it's like, you know, he must have known that the majority of it was on the record, so and we never published anything.
So is the interview,
he told me was off the record.
Is the interview now available, or is it still offline?
It's still offline. I mean, the minute we took it offline, you know, there were other fan sites of Prince that put it online because they did their various screenshots of it and stuff. You know, like, it's still Googleable it's still out there on the net, but not by Ebony. We respected his wishes and we took it down.
All right, then. Miles Marshall Lewis, we certainly appreciate it. Thank you so very much with Ebony Magazine. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, folks. Joining us right now on the phone is Carrie Gordy, a former vice president of Paisley Park Records. Carrie, welcome to TV1.
Hey, Roland, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. First of all, how long did you work at Paisley Park Records?
Probably 3 years.
3 years. For our folks, very few people, obviously, with our audience, had an opportunity to know Prince in the way that you did. So please tell us what was it like working with Prince?
Well, first of all, working with Prince was amazing for me because he absolutely gave me autonomy to do everything that I needed to do. And so if I wanted to do something, then there was no question about it. We would get it done. Now, every once in a while, he would have some things that he would want to do that we would do. But for all intents and purposes, he kind of went along with my with my focus.
He was an extremely talented musician with his albums. This is a guy who not only could do all the vocals, he could play all of the instruments. He was a one-man band, if you will. Can you speak about literally how much of a genius he was, and to watch that process as he worked?
Well, the point is that he was amazing because, I'm a musician as well. So we used to play together, and it was just amazing because he was every time I was around, he was kind of like a show-off, where he would come over and he would play the guitar in my face, then he would get on the piano, which I was on, and then he would play a piano lick better than I did. Then he would go over to the bass player and take the bass player's bass and do whatever and outplay the bass player. Then he would go get on the drums and outplay the drummer. The man was phenomenal. He was an incredible writer and an incredible producer, and he was just one of those threats that could do literally everything. Luckily, he needed somebody to handle the marketing. Because if he could have handled the marketing and the promotion and distribution, then I would have been out of a job.
Carrie, one of the things that people also don't realize how amazing of a businessman he was. He protected his likeness. If you posted a video, if you went to one of his concerts and you posted a video, they would be on you on YouTube to take it down. He was very much about protecting his rights, protecting his music. He understood the value of being able to pay an artist for their rights. For the longest, he wouldn't even allow iTunes to allow it to stream his music, because he felt he wanted folks to be able to get the whole album versus buying individual songs. Well,
I was with him when he changed his name to a symbol. And the reason that he changed his name to the symbol is because he felt that Warner Brothers owned him. Well, Warner Brothers owned, quote unquote, Prince, the word Prince, the name Prince. So he decided that, okay, I don't want them to own me, so I am going to change my name. And you know what? All of the albums that they have under the name Prince, they can have, and they can do whatever they want to do with it. I'm not turning in any more records under this name, and from now on, I am going to own anything that I do 100%. The publishing, which is the copyright, and the masters, which are the sound recordings. Carrie Gordy, we surely appreciate you joining us right here on TV1 to share your thoughts about Prince. Thank you so very much. Okay, man. Thank you, folks. When we come back, we'll talk with Jamie Foster Brown. We'll chat with Kevin Lyles, music exec. We'll also talk with the litany of people who worked with Prince, who knew him well. Folks, we have our extensive coverage on the death of the iconic singer Prince at the age of 57. Passed away this morning at his home in Minneapolis, Minnesota. This is NewsOne Now, Primetime Special on TV1, Prince Remembered. Living Innovations. Hey
folks, so many people know about, of course, Prince the artist, but he was an amazing businessman, somebody who understands that. Is my next guest. He is Kevin Liles, spent 15 years with Def Jam Records, 5 years with Warner Brothers. He also is with 300 Entertainment and also KWL Enterprises, managing a variety of artists. He's one of the brightest minds in the music industry. He joins us right now. He's about to take off for a plane. So, Kevin, I know you don't have much time. Just share with us, Kevin, just your thoughts about Prince and just how amazing of an artist and a businessman he was.
I love Prince. First off, God rest his soul, and I'm a fan. I'm more so than a businessman or record executive or manager. I'm a fan of Prince. You know, Purple Rain changed my perspective on life, and you know, his ability to wear what he wanted, talk how he wanted, did what he wanted, opened my eyes that we should allow artists to tell their truth, to tell their experiences through their music and through their life. So he was a very special person and inspiration to me professionally and personally.
When you think about his impact on other artists, speak about that, because I mean, at the end of the day, I know so many people who said, "Man, I just want to do something with Prince."
I think Prince was, I call him a one-on-one. There will never be another one. There never was one. He never copied or duplicated. He always originated. So when you talk about artists, every artist's dream is to be a one-on-one. And what Prince has done is set the tone of possibilities, not impossibilities. It's saying, tell your truth, be who you are, and have people accept you and accept your music for the soundtrack of their life.
I know he has so much music. What was Kevin Liles' favorite Prince song?
Well, you know, I'm married, so I can't say what I want to say, but Nikki Started to Grind was my record. You know, I mean, I never knew a girl named Nikki, but, you know, that record was a very, very special record to me. Now, in all honesty, I'm a Prince fan, so whether it was Little Red Corvette, or Dove's Cry, or Nikki, you know, those are the special moments in time, and I remember the moments as I grew up in my life from his records.
Kevin Liles, it's a pleasure talking with you, sharing your memories about the iconic artist Prince. Thank you so very much for joining us on TV One.
Love, man. Be good.
Thanks
God
a
bless
lot.
You all.
Folks, again, as we talked about, there are tremendous outpouring of people talking about Prince on social media. So many people. We've been using the hashtag Prince Gone Too Soon. That was with a hashtag. People, again, posting videos, posting their photos, and all of those things remembering Prince. We're trying to pull up some of those tweets as we speak. 50 Cent tweeted out different stuff. Oprah tweeted out, Prince, doves are certainly crying right now. And so, again, Prince touched people in such a different and unique way. And, of course, you know, we didn't have this show when Michael Jackson died. Here's Ava DuVernay. She tweeted this: paint a perfect picture, bring to life a vision in one's mind, the beautiful ones. Always a smash the picture, always, every time. Hashtag Prince XO. Let's go to the next tweet, please. Chuck D, I'm a man of words. I'm kind of speechless on losing Prince. It's like the earth is missing a note. Little to say, only thing to do is play. Next tweet, please. We have Deborah Cox, speechless. Prince, heartbroken. Next tweet, Fantasia, who's performing tonight. You heard from Anthony Hamilton. They're performing tonight together. No, this is not good for me to hear today. OMG, Prince, rest in peace. He was music, not good. Jesus. Joining us right now, Jamie Foster Brown, Sister to Sister Magazine. She's someone who interviewed Prince on many occasions, saw his concerts. Jamie, thank you for joining us on TV One. Thank you. Your immediate memories of one of the greatest musicians in the history of this country, this world.
He was iconic, not only in the music, the clothing, the sexy lyrics and stuff. You know, when those lyrics came out the first time, I was like, oh my God, is the world going to come to an end? Because, you know, Nikki, all that, you know, juicy stuff that he talked about And then on top of that, he was good looking. Not only talented, but just good looking too.
You speak about that, but the reality is the reason that you have the stickers on music now is because Tipper Gore and H. Dolores Tucker were kicked off with the lyrics in one of Prince's album, and that's why you have the parental stickers. And so Prince changed the game that way as well, because they felt those lyrics were a little too raunchy.
Right. That way, and also to control his music. I think you mentioned that earlier. He was the first. And remember, he had slave written on his face at one time, like he was a slave to the music industry. But one of my fondest memories of Prince was like a little over a year ago. I couldn't believe it. We were in a nightclub up in New York, and I think he had two acts that he was bringing, a young woman and a group. And he wanted to present them their music, and we were in this nightclub. So he was up in the DJ booth along with his artists. They were playing the music. I was standing on the steps below him and behind the bodyguard, one of the bodyguards. And all of a sudden, I see this look like a little white arm and hand sticking out from behind the bodyguard. And then his head came out and he said, "Can you please take me out of here?" And I was like, well, I mean, I was stunned, and I said, okay. And then I grabbed him, and I walked him through the crowd. They didn't bother us. I guess everybody was a little bit stunned. And I took him downstairs in the basement where the artist had been. Wendy Williams had been there earlier also, talking with him. And it was then he told me that he had watched me for over the years. I had never really interviewed him. I had been with other media that had, he would do a group. He didn't do a whole lot of interviews. It was very private at the beginning. And so that he said, I've watched what you've done with the artist. I admired you. You still look good, And he said, I want to talk to you some more. And I was like, okay. He got distracted. But I knew that Prince stayed up to talk. He didn't go to bed till 6 a.m. in the morning. Right. And that I would have had to be there with him to 5 a.m. in the morning. And I just, I couldn't wait that long to talk to him. It was a wonderful night. His arm, his hand were it was like childlike. It was almost as if it was a 6-year-old. And even I felt his fingertips. I thought that they would have calluses on it from having, played the guitar all these years. Nothing. It was cerebral. It was just, surreal to me. And it was just a joy for me to have been with him that night. So I mourn him, but I'm glad we had him. I think that God takes his angels back early, just like he took back Michael Jackson. I mean, we can only have them for a little while, and then they go back. So I'm just happy that God sent him to us and that we all enjoyed it, that he gave us so much. We can't be, selfish.
Absolutely. Jamie Foster Brown, always a pleasure. Thank you very much for sharing us those memories of Prince. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Folks, when we come back, we'll talk with CJ, a columnist with the Minneapolis Star-Tribune, who had quite a contentious relationship back and forth with Prince, also Nona Gay, who was once engaged to Prince. She'll also join us on the show. In the next hour, we'll talk with Terry Ellis. We'll talk with Seth the Entertainer. We'll talk with Michael Bivins, Johnny Gill, Jeffrey Osborne. A packed hour left as we pay tribute to Prince right here on NewsOne Now on TV One. Folks, welcome back to NewsOne Now on TV One, our primetime special, Prince Remembered. Joining us on the phone right now is a columnist with the Minneapolis Star-Tribune. Let's just say she had an interesting relationship with Prince. CJ, how you doing?
I'm doing okay.
Just share with our folks, you and Prince.
Yeah, I don't know if I could call it beef, Roland. Maybe it's a little veal. We had a situation. I'm thinking that I was less inclined to slather him with praise all the time for his behavior, because some of his behavior was not good. And I wanted him to be a better human, and so I would point out these things. And he didn't take kindly to that. And I'm assuming one indication of that is that the song Billy Jack Bitch is about me.
It's about you.
And what he doesn't know, what he never knew, is that there was somebody who worked at Paisley Park or was close to Prince who floated me a tape of Prince performing that song at the Glam Slam nightclub in Los Angeles, and I think he had one down in Florida. And at the end of the song, after he finished complaining about me, he fell to his knees and he said, "CJ, Billy Jack bitch." And so I'm pretty sure, and the one time I met Prince, I realized that I was the person standing there rolling my eyes, and I said to him, I said, "Well, you know me." I said, "Well, you don't know me. You know who I am." And he said, "Who are you?" And I said, "I'm CJ." And the first thing he said was, "Billy." And of course, there've been so many people who are no longer friends of his, who were at Paisley Park at the time that he wrote the song, who have told me that the song was about me. But once I was just talking about this, ironically, I was talking about this Wednesday when I was at Fox 9. I went to Paisley Park for Sharon Sells Belton's fundraiser. That's the former mayor of Minneapolis. And I'm out and I put on some glasses, which I wasn't seen in at that time, and I put on a cute little purple dress. And I was out there and I was bopping along to the music, and he was up on stage and he got a look at me. And the next thing I knew, I was being tapped on the shoulder, and someone who stood in my ear, "I've been asked to ask you to leave."
Wow. So,
and I said, I said, "Where's my money?" And they gave me my $100 bill back, and I left.
Wow. Well, he certainly was someone who, again, he could be a little tough with journalists, and so.
That's okay. That's okay. I'm okay with that.
Gotcha.
Okay with that.
Well, CJ,
But he was one of a kind. He was one of a kind, and I've gotten a little hate because I've been saying that he was the real music icon in Minnesota, not Bob Dylan. They're different kinds of guys, but I just think Prince had more star power than Dylan. Dylan can't sing. Why don't people hear that?
CJ, you don't have any, baby. This TV one. You ain't got no argument here between Prince and Bob Dylan. Prince absolutely above Bob Dylan. I got to get to a break. CJ, it was great you joining us. We'll be sure to have you back as well. Thank you so very much.
Keep your time. Bye-bye.
Folks, we come back. We'll talk to Nona Gay, the actress who was once engaged to Prince. We'll talk to a lot of folks. Terry Ellis in Vogue, Michael Bivins, Johnny Gill. We'll talk to Seth the Entertainer, Sean Robinson, entertainment reporter. We'll also talk to Christopher Reed, Yo-Yo, Lil Jon, a drummer from Prince. We'll hear from Philip Bailey, Earth, Wind and Fire. Folks, a jam-packed hour. Plus, we go live to the Apollo with one of our editors from HelloBeautiful.com. Folks, welcome back to our second hour of this News One Now primetime special. Prince Remembered. The iconic singer died earlier today at his home, found dead in an elevator in Minneapolis, Minnesota. There still is no cause of death. It is under investigation. Cops in Minneapolis are trying to get access to Prince's health records when he stopped off at the hospital in Illinois last Friday. TMZ is reporting. Again, this has not been confirmed by police or from anyone in the Prince camp. TMZ is reporting it was a drug overdose last week. I'm just simply cautioning you on that. And so, but in the meantime, people are simply still stunned at the news of the death of the 57-year-old singer. Right now, I want to go out to the Apollo Theater. Danielle James with HelloBeautiful.com, our sister site, is joining us right now from the Apollo. Danielle, people are gathered at the Apollo. Tell us what's going on.
Roland, the scene here at the Apollo, everybody is celebrating. I'm turning around the phone. You guys can see the life of Prince. We're listening to When Doves Cry right now. Everyone is so sad right now. As you know, Harlem is the mecca of Black America. I'm live right now here with Sheila, with Joanne. Joanne is a native of Harlem. How are you feeling right now, Joanne?
I couldn't even believe it. And it's still hard to believe that he was a legend song.
What's your favorite Prince song, Joanne?
This one right here, Doves Cry.
When Doves Cry? And how has Prince played an influence in your life?
Oh man, I've been growing up. Prince been in my life since I was a little kid. I'm a grown woman right now with kids of my own.
Yes, thank you, Joanne, so much for talking to us.
Hey Danielle. First of all, the sign there at the Apollo, have they changed it to honor Prince?
Repeat that, Roland?
Yeah, the sign there at the Apollo, have they changed it to honor Prince? Can you give us a shot? Can you give us a shot?
Let me give you that shot, yes. Excuse me. Rain, Purple Rain, in honor of the beautiful Prince. We are live from the Apollo Theater, where the Mecca of Black America in Harlem, the Mecca of music for Black people. We are here and we are just all celebrating and listening to Prince music while people are here selling shirts in honor of Prince. Right now we have shirts being sold. The likes of Prince, people have gathered around, they're dancing, they're singing. People are just talking about reminiscing on what Prince has meant to them, how much they love Prince, how much he means to them. The atmosphere is heavy with sadness, but people are just loving and celebrating the life of Prince.
All right then, Danielle James, HelloBeautiful.com. We certainly appreciate you joining us live from the Apollo. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Roland.
Thank you. Well, folks, there are so many people we're talking to who remember Prince, who knew him well. My next guest is someone who not only knew Prince well, she was once engaged to him. Joining us on the phone lines right now is the daughter of Marvin Gaye, the actress Nona Gaye. Nona, welcome to TV One.
Thank you so very much, Roland. Thank you for having me.
This has to be a very difficult moment for you. We certainly, our prayers go out to you as well. Just share your initial thoughts about Prince Rogers Nelson.
My initial thoughts were really just that I couldn't internalize the fact that it was real when I heard it from my mother. My mother gave me the news. And I have just been going over memories and, things that he used to say and do and that we used to do together. And just really, I've had a very tough day. Probably one of the toughest days I've had since my father passed, to be really honest with you. He was an incredible man and an unbelievable, unfathomably talented artist. We all know that. But he was also a beautiful, beautiful man. And I miss him, and I will miss him for the rest of my life.
Nona, how long were the two of you together?
About 3 years. 3 years we were together.
And I had a conversation earlier with Anthony Hamilton, and one of the things that he said was, he said, Prince had an amazing sense of humor.
Yeah, he did. He was actually quite funny. He really was. He made me laugh all the time. And I know people kind of think of him as being very shy. And if you didn't know him, yes, he could give that off. But if you did know him, he was quite silly and very funny and would crack a lot of jokes. And I'm sure that's another thing I'll miss a lot.
He also was a very private man.
Extremely private. It's funny that you use that word because the very first time that we spoke, I said, I know that you're a very private person, because he had asked me to kind of write him a letter. And, so I did, but it was kind of a very private thing, our correspondence. And, I think he kind of enjoyed his privacy. It was very interesting for me because I was 17 and I'd never experienced anything like him. And, I never will again. He was amazing and one of a kind, and we've lost an incredibly wonderful and talented man, an icon. And like I said, it's been very difficult, but he's in a better place now. He's with everybody else who's left too early. I think maybe they're up there jamming. I hope so. That's what I like to think about, is everybody together, my father and Michael and now Prince, being free of anything that's painful or uncomfortable on this earth that we have to deal with.
Nona Gaye, we surely appreciate you joining us on TV One to remember the great Prince. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so very much.
Joining us right now, folks, via FaceTime is Corey Murray. She's the entertainment editor for Essence Magazine. Corey, welcome to News One Now.
Thank you for having me.
Prince performed at the Essence Music Festival in 2014. It was an unbelievable concert, and he had a very interesting relationship with Essence Magazine.
Yes, he did. He actually performed twice. He performed for our 10th anniversary in 2004, and yes, for the 20th in 2014. And on my Twitter page, I've held up the moment when he played Purple Rain and the purple confetti that bursted out and all over the Superdome. I have that image captured, and now I probably will never take it down because he was definitely a friend to Essence Magazine.
And in fact, what was interesting is Prince initially wanted to perform all nights at the music festival, but that was going to be it was going to be a little costly.
Yes.
And I can tell you, the moment it was announced that he was performing, people went crazy on social media, and I remember that night vividly. And when he performed, and it was shocking, he performed a Michael Jackson song that night. It was amazing.
No, you talk about people going crazy on social media. I got hit up so much on my personal phone by friends I had heard from years. Like, can I be your guest to the Essence Festival? Can I get tickets? Everybody wanted to be there for that. Oh.
Corey, first of all, your favorite Prince song?
Adore, hands down. It broke me today playing it. I literally cried. I was in tears today listening to it at work.
All right, then. Corey Murray, Essence Magazine. We appreciate it. Thank you so very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Folks, when we come back, we'll talk with Sean Robinson, entertainment reporter, Seth the Entertainer, Johnny Gill, Michael Bivins, and more as we remember Prince right here on this News One Now special on TV One. All right, folks, welcome back to this TV One News One Now primetime special. We remember Prince. Joining us right now from Los Angeles is Sean Robinson, longtime entertainment reporter. And Sean, glad to have you right here on TV One. I can thank you for a great Prince memory. 2011, 5 years ago, we're at the NBA All-Star Game. I get a text message on my phone as I am at a party for Diddy's party, and a text message says, "Roland, you want to come to a party at Prince's house?" And I go, hell yeah. And so share your thoughts about Prince.
Yeah, you know, that was a really fun night. This has been a really tough day, as you know, Roland, for so many people who knew Prince well, and for those who were fans. It's just so shocking. You know, I knew Prince. I've known Prince probably for the last decade. I met him first as a reporter, and then we became friends. I had the honor of being a guest in his home many, many times. He took me and my dad out to dinner. He loved my father, and had wonderful conversations with him just about spirituality, about the business, entertainment business, about leveling up, as I call it, reaching further and using our platform for good and helping other people. And I remember that particular night, Prince wanted to have a party. It's at the last minute. He said, "Sean, call some people over to have a party." And I'm thinking, okay, who do I know who's in town who will make it a good party? Oh, Roland Martin, of course. Yeah, I text you and thank you for answering the call because you made it a really, really fun night.
Well, what was interesting is when I walked into the house, and look, I'm from the South. I go, you greet the person whose house you go to, and so I walk in, I'm like, well, where Prince? And you look like, I don't know where Prince went. And all of a sudden, we see him. He's playing the drums to the DJ. And so, okay, fine. And so deal is, you don't go up to Prince, he come up to you. And so we go dancing, and you know me, music starts, I'm gonna dance. And then all of a sudden, I'm dancing with my wife, Jackie. And then Sean, next thing I know, somebody walks up to me, hands behind their back, and he goes, "How you doing?" And he says, You dance very well. You can come to my house anytime. And then, of course, that night, and then about 2:30 in the morning, this thing turns into a full concert. So all of a sudden, I see people plugging stuff up, and then next thing you know, he goes and gets a cake. Shelby J is singing, and it was unbelievable. And now what was crazy is he had these signs in his house, and tell folks about that. You couldn't tweet, you couldn't take photos or video, and the sign said, put it in your memory bank.
Yeah, that's how it was. The policy was you don't take pictures at Prince's house, and we would always honor that, of course. And I just didn't. I mean, I've known him for the last decade, and I never talked publicly about him because, that I wanted to respect his privacy. Right. And today is a day for so many people who had those very personal and fun memories of Prince to share them with the world, to let people know that he was more than just this musical icon. He was a good person. He was one of the smartest people that I ever knew. I mean, some of the conversations that we would have late at night, like 5 o'clock in the morning.
And Sean, folks don't realize he actually gave Van Jones the idea for Yes We Code. The initiative where to get young people coding for Silicon Valley.
Yeah, and you know what? I just found that out today from Van. I didn't even realize that. Yeah. And that's what's so wonderful about people sharing these personal stories. You get a side of him, of Prince, that not many people knew about. And once again, he was one of the smartest men, people that I knew. And we would have these late night philosophical conversations at his house, and also he was funny. He had a really funny sense of humor, really dry, sarcastic sense of humor. But he was always really great to be around. But the thing that I take away is from him is how do we use our platform for good, and that's what he was all about. I would talk to him about, whatever issues, struggles I was dealing with. And he would say, okay, Sean, and he had this nickname for me. He'd call me Harriet, for Harriet Tubman. And he'd be like, okay, you going to be Harriet Tubman today? And, he would like push you. He would push you to go further and further and to push your own limits and be boundless. And that's the one thing that I would really take away from my friendship with him. He always kind of taught me to level up, push myself even further and say, okay, I've done this. Now what else can I do? How can I help others? And I remember when my book was out, when I published my first book, and there was a picture of me. I got an email from him, from Prince, and it was a picture of me signing my book for a little girl. She must have been about maybe 8. And he said, in the email, he said, much respect. And so that's the kind of thing that he wanted to see his friends, his close circle of friends do, help other people and just, not use our platform to talk about our next project, but what we're really doing to help the world.
All right. Well, Sean Robinson, it was interesting. I couldn't talk about, of course, that night. And it was about 6 months later when Sinbad tweets, hey, man, Prince said you left some skid marks on his dance floor. And I said, well, I guess we could talk about it. And then when I saw Prince at Essence Music Festival, after he performed, I went to the House of Blues and got a chance to sit with him and Google in Barthara. And he says, look, man, he said, I saw you down there dancing during the concert. And then he turns to Google and he says, Google, this brother can dance. And so he was a really great guy. Sean Robinson, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Roland.
Thank you. Joining us on the phone right now is Terry Ellis of In Vogue. Terry, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm sad, though. I have to say I'm sitting here and I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone. I just can't believe that Prince has made his transition. It just, none of us, know when that's going to happen.
Right.
But it just feels so soon. It's just too soon,
When you go ahead.
I was just going to say, but, I'd like to say that our prayers and condolences, out to his family and loved ones.
When you talk about Prince and his music and his impact, Philip Bailey said this. He said superstars, when they heard Prince was performing, wanted to go hear Prince.
Oh, my gosh, are you kidding? But first of all, he was such a musical genius. He, as an artist, he encompassed / accomplished every aspect of what we as artists aspire to He was a prolific songwriter, a multi-instrumentalist. His stage presence was off the charts. His vocal range was ridiculous. I mean, he embodied such a wide range of artistry. So, yeah, I mean, you know, even at the level that we had reached in our career, it was like when you heard Prince was performing, you wanted to go to the show because he was a teacher. He was a teacher for us. And we wanted to go and listen and learn, man, let me tell you.
Well, Terry, it's great that you could join us. Thank you so very much for sharing your thoughts about the legendary Prince.
Thank you.
All right, then, folks, coming up next right here on News One Now, we'll chat with Sid the Entertainer. We'll also talk to Londell McMillan, who was an attorney for Prince, the one who led the effort when he got out of that Warner Brothers contract. We'll talk to them. And also, we'll go to break, leaving you with this. There were storms today in Minneapolis, and this is a photo, a rainbow, over Paisley Park Estate, where Prince died today at the age of 57. This is News One Now on TV One. Welcome back to this News One Now Primetime special, Prince Remembered. Joining us on the phone right now is attorney Londell McMillan. He was the attorney who worked with Prince when it came to his Warner Brothers contract. He was the one who set the standard when it came to teaching other artists about their music. Londell, welcome to TV One.
Hello, Brother Roland, and hello to all of the people watching. But
it's a tough day for you, Londell. You were attorney for Michael Jackson. You were attorney for Prince. This is difficult.
Yes, it's very, very difficult for a lot of us. But when you're very close to someone like Prince, you become more than just an attorney. And he was my brother. He was my partner. And we did a lot together. You have to know that I was blessed to actually have him in my life and have him impact my life. And I hope that I impacted his. We certainly were able to do some monumental work. It certainly was great to bring him closer into the nucleus of our community and connect them with so many of the people that I even see on your show. And then to create such history with his innovation and making it work from a business perspective so it can meet the freedom that he had in his heart. He wanted that freedom and that creativity to connect, to create, do great things. And I'm just very profoundly proud to have worked with him and very profoundly touched and saddened.
He was certainly an original. You were with him in that Warner Brothers battle. There was a point when he stopped using his name. He also gave an interview with the Today Show where he said you were the one who gave him the name The Artist.
Mm-hmm. Well, I gave him the name The Artist, one, because I wasn't about to keep saying the artist formerly known as Prince. And, you know, in our computers, we had his symbol in a font. So when I would do his contracts, I would have to use that symbol in documents. But for me, it was really just about service to this great man at first, about trying to have him not only just achieve what he was looking for as a legal client, but to achieve peace. So when I met him, I said, well, how do we get that slave off your face? And he said, well, you get me free, then I'll take it off my face. And as a student of African-American history, I shot back at him something that I think started a turn with Brother Prince, and it started a relationship that I think we enjoyed. And I said to him, well, freedom has never been free. Freedom has never been free. And then he looked up at me and with straight eye contact, because Prince used to look off in the distance. He never used to have direct eye contact at that time.
Right.
The Prince that we know him over the past decade that Sean mentioned in your show earlier, that was a different Prince. You know, Prince was doing something else. But Prince has always been a cool dude, but he was always a bit mercurial. But he's just so amazing, so amazing. I mean, you're going to hear musical genius many, many times, but what you may or may not hear, that he was lovable, he was witty, he was funny, he was intelligent, he knew how to speak extremely well, very conversant, very powerful, and certainly courageous.
Londell McMillan, attorney for Prince. Man, we appreciate you joining us, sharing your memories with the iconic one. Last time you talked to him?
Sunday. He said, I'm doing perfect. All is good.
4 days later, he's left us. Londell, thanks a lot.
Before I go, let me say this. Brothers and sisters, we have to take care of our health. We have to watch those things like that. And we just have to keep lifting his spirit up. And thank you for making this show happen, because we got to keep Prince alive. He's never going to die. Thank you, Roland.
Londell, I appreciate it, brother. Thank you so very much. Folks, when we come back, we will talk to Seth the Entertainer about Prince. We'll talk with the singer Yo-Yo about Prince. We also will hear from many others, including Lil Jon, who was a drummer with Prince. This is our News One Now primetime special, Prince Remembered. This is some video earlier of the day of folks outside of the Apollo dancing to Amistad Prince right here on TV One. Welcome back to our News One Now primetime special, Prince Remembered. Joining us right now is Seth the Entertainer. Of course, we know him from his laughs. He stars, of course, in Barbershop, The Next Cut. Said this is not certainly a laughing moment. The fact that Prince has passed away. Just your initial thoughts.
Oh, well, man, it was a tough day. I mean, it's really like losing a family member. When you first hear the news, of course, all of us shocked. Not really sure. But then as you find out today, it was just a wave, man, that come over you where it's just, you go from all the memories to, the profound sadness of losing somebody so great. But, having a chance to know him, man, he was just such a cool, funny dude, man. And I mean, it's just like a lot of people know him as this enigma artist, but up close, man, Prince was the greatest, man.
One of the things that also, comedians, you guys love music as well, and I don't care who you are, when you put a Prince song on, the crowd will go crazy.
Oh, without a doubt, man. I mean, it's one of those things that you find yourself, ow, you just, you get loose out there. I mean, dance, music, sex, romance, 99. Don't let Purple Rain come on. I think I tear up every time he get to the little screaming part at the end. I mean, it's just that feeling and so much emotion that he had, and way he can take you, with a song, and the way he kind of rocked it and performed it. This dude was just fearless, and he was unique, and he was the kind of artist that teaches other artists that you got to be confident about what it is that you do, and believe in it, and own it, and be bold about it, and all of those things. And that's how he led as well, man. All right, then, Seth the Entertainer. We appreciate it, bro. Thanks a lot. All right, bro. Right on, man. Thank you very much for joining us, folks. Joining us right now from Full Force, Bow-Legged Lou, Paul Anthony. They join us right now, plus Christopher Kidd Reed. Gentlemen, how are you? Okay.
What's up, Roland?
I understand Bow-Legged Lou and Paul Anthony, House Party was a favorite film of Prince's.
Yeah, man. Yeah, he loved that, man. We loved the brother, too. Also, we worked together on Patti LaBelle's album also, so it was a pleasure, knowing that.
And Prince would always, mimic some of the lines from House Party. He really loved House Party, and,
crazy.
Man, it's just going to be, it's a sad day, but he's up in heaven with the man above,
When you talk about working with him, I mean, he was certainly a musical genius, and, I mean, there was nothing he could not do in the studio.
Nothing.
Exactly, and he knew the importance of just being minimal with it. Although he played everything, some of his biggest hits were as simple as "When Doves Cry" and "Sign of Time." So he played everything, but he knew the texture of music, and he knew the quality was in just simplicity, you know. And he loved us when we did that. We worked on a few projects of his, and he said it restored his faith in the music when he heard our stuff, and you know, it was just a wonderful pairing, you know, lots of times.
And the brother had such a great sense of humor also. I mean, sometimes you look at Prince, just look at him serious, but man, he had a great sense of humor. He cracked jokes with the best of them as well, man.
Folks, the video you're watching right now, this is the video that we shot, our NewsOne Now crew shot of Prince performing at Essence in 2014. That's what you're seeing. I want to bring in Yo-Yo to this conversation. She joins us via FaceTime as well. Yo-Yo, how you doing?
I am wonderful. How about yourself?
Doing great. Just share your initial thoughts about Prince.
Well, you know, Prince was an artist, of course, and he had such an influence on hip hop, which a lot of people I don't think are aware of, because he gave hip hop artists, a chance to be unique. Leather players.
Yo-Yo, not only when you talk about the inspiration, what I tell people at the Soul Train Awards, he made when he got honored, he made everybody stand up, and he made it perfectly clear to the artists, you better focus on the business of show business.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at RZA, when you look at Tribe Called Quest, when you look at Wu-Tang Clan, when you look at Taylor Swift, so many different artists who were scared to bite the hand that fed them because of these big engines that we work for and work behind. It was unnatural for us to speak about things that was bothering us, for us to talk about things that we knew was a problem with our career, and he made that just so. He made he made us feel comfortable doing it, because he was such a grand artist to us, and to witness him doing just that and saying, hey, listen, you can take the music, but you can't take my artistry. And that's what so many of us were afraid that was going to be snatched from us, our artistry. And he was such a leader and a feminist. I mean, he loved working with strong women. Look at all of the strong women he worked with and stood behind.
I want to pull up right now Raheem Devon, who's in the studio with us, also Wes Felton. Raheem, when we talk about Prince in these different styles, I mean, look, there was nothing he couldn't do. You would hear a song and it's rock, then you would hear R&B, then you would hear pop, then you would hear a love song. I mean, he just said, forget a box, there are no boxes.
Yeah, I think it's really just about whatever he wanted to embrace at that moment, or whatever he wanted to express artistically, you know, at that moment is what he vibed on and did. And I think that's what every artist, you know, should do, you know?
Wes?
You know, when you think about Prince, as an African-American man, something that he did that so often artists don't get a chance to do in the music industry, Prince required you to accept him as he was. You know, when he first came out, some people were shocked by maybe some of the things that he wore, or even some of the ways that he chose to express himself about love. But when you really think about it, you had to come to the table with him, not just as a fan, but then consequently in the long run, as we saw, as a businessman as well.
Bow-Legged Lou, favorite Prince song?
Erotic City, that he did with Sheila E.
Paul Anthony, favorite Prince song?
Oh, no question. Pink Cashmere.
That's a good jam. Yo-Yo, favorite Prince song?
Pretty Nikki.
Paul, Bow-Legged Lou, Yo-Yo, I certainly appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
Love you guys.
Folks, when we come back, we're going to hear from Lil Jon, who was a drummer for Prince, and we'll also continue talking with Raheem Devon as well as Wes Felton. All of that, folks, as we continue to honor the amazing, the iconic, the legendary Prince, dead at the age of 57, died today at his home in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Welcome back to NewsOne Now, TV 1 Hour Primetime Special, our tribute to Prince. Joining us right now via FaceTime is Lil Jon. He was a drummer for Prince. Lil Jon, how are you?
Hey, Roland. How you doing, man?
Doing great, man. Tell us what it was like working with an absolute legend.
Yeah, I had the privilege of playing with him for the 2005 NAACP Award show. Sheila E., he had her put the whole band together, so she called me to come in and play drums for that. And it was an honor, and you know, I was nervous because he's a drummer as well, and you know, intimidated the whole nine. But you know, when you get in there, you just got to go for it, man, because if you don't, he will replace you with somebody else.
And when we hear the stories of James Brown being a taskmaster, was Prince the same way?
Absolutely. I mean, he will find you like James Brown would and everything like that. Like, I've heard stories from other drummers that have worked with him. You know, he'd find you for wearing the wrong clothes, you know. But he would pay very well, but then he'd find you very big, too.
And when we think about Prince, the dude loved to perform. He would do a concert, and then when the concert was over, he would go to a club and jam harder at the club than he did at the concert.
Man, we went to his house after we did that one performance at the award show. We played there till a good 6, 7 in the morning. Then he still wanted to hang out and talk and hang out. I always said, man, do you ever sleep?
And that was always the case. And like I said, when I went to his house for a party, dude, we didn't leave till 6 a.m.
Right. Weren't you at the NAACP Awards, Roland?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, we were Joni Mitchell was in the room playing pool. You know, Questlove was the DJ. You know, the whole band was set up. We jammed all night, man. It was great.
Raheem, I mean, look, he died at 57, but he could straight outwork a whole bunch of 20-year-olds on stage.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Indeed. And then, you know, the last time that I saw him, we were all together at the House of Blues. It was last year, Essence Fest, you know. So yeah, man, it's definitely was a shock to our system.
Well, in fact, that particular night, what happened was after he performed, he did 3 or 4 encores, and he wanted to do 6 or 7, but the audience, well, they were tired. He wasn't tired, so he goes to the House of Blues. Shelby J was performing, and he jumps on stage with the band, and they weren't keeping up. So he's kind of like, "Fine, y'all just keep on playing. I'm gonna go back and sit down." Yeah. And we're back and sit down in VIP.
Yeah, man. You know, just a good
true genius musician, man.
Yeah.
Lil Jon, anything else?
He is the epitome of genius, man. You got Stevie Wonder, you got Michael Jackson, you got Prince.
All right then, man. Well, I certainly appreciate it. Thank you so very much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, folks, that was Lil Jon, drummer for Prince. There's lots of things happening right here. Earlier, I had a chance to interview Philip Bailey of Earth, Wind & Fire. He shared his thoughts about Prince as well. And one of the things he talked about, that he had a friend, somebody who works with him, who had a family member who worked at the hospital where Prince was dropped off. So here's a little bit of the Philip Bailey interview.
In Moline, Illinois, a few nights ago, and that's the home of our wardrobe person who actually worked with Prince and the time. His name is Lewis Wells, and he told me during the show that Prince was in the hospital there because his sister worked at the hospital, and that he had to make an emergency landing. And that he was in the hospital there. So, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. So it was still a great surprise this morning. Today to find out that he had passed. But our paths have crossed so much from the beginning of his career. Crazy enough, the guy who got me in Perry Jones was also the guys that brought him to Cavallo Ruffalo, who were our managers. So we had the same managers, and throughout his heyday, the Purple Rain days, and all that kind of stuff. And so we have the same daily, Jamie Shoup. Back in the day and stuff. So, we had, really close paths. And he studied the band a lot prior to getting into that's how he decided to come to Cavallo Ruffalo. He said, I'm seeing what this band is doing, and I really want to go with the people that they're with, and that's how he got over to the record company where he was at the beginning and stuff. So it was.
Paisley, talking about Prince. Joining us right now on the phone lines is Johnny Gill. Johnny, you there?
Yep.
Johnny, I got about 60 seconds before I go to break. Just share your thoughts about the iconic and legend Prince.
Man, I think we all can, if you put us all in separate rooms and we're all over the place, one thing that we can say is that we lost a giant, and I think we can all agree to that. But thank God that he passed this way, passed through this world, and what he did for all of us can never be erased. And we thank God for having him, for his unique talent that has touched all of our lives in some way.
Philip Bailey made a point where he said superstars, if they heard Prince was performing at a club, at a venue, they would line up to see him. He said that doesn't happen for a lot of other people.
No, it doesn't. And if one thing that Prince showed all of us, when you look at him and watch his work ethics, it tells you all you need to know in order to become great. Prince there was no certain time, place that he wouldn't play. It was nonstop. He lived it, and he walked the walk and talked the talk. When it comes down to being just a great and incredible musician, as well as just an artist. And if there was something that we can all learn and take from him, is that he was a hard worker. Incredible.
Johnny Gill, we appreciate you joining us right here on News One Now TV One.
Thank you.
Folks, I'll be back with final thoughts about Prince Rogers Nelson right here on TV One. Folks, this was the first primetime special we've done for anybody, and no one more deserving than Prince. We will re-air this tomorrow morning right here on TV One from 7 to 9 a.m. He was certainly an amazing singer. When you were in his presence, you knew you were in the presence of music royalty. We will all remember his songs. I don't care whether it's Diamonds and Pearls, whether it's Kiss, whether it's Pink Cashmere. It does not matter. Prince leaves a lasting legacy. Lost at the age of 57. We've lost so many other greats, the same thing. This was a photo I shot of him in 2014 as he tore up the Superdome. May God rest his soul, Prince Rogers Nelson, age of 57.